Good morning, Carroll County. This is Brian DeLeonardo, your state's attorney, with this week's State's Attorney's Report. It has certainly been no secret that not only are we dealing with a overdose challenge in this county, but we've been dealing with this not only statewide, but frankly throughout the region. And, one of the nice things about our county is I think we've really taken a lot of proactive steps and a lot of new initiatives to try to help deal with the issue of overdose deaths. And so this morning I asked our Deputy State's Attorney, Ned Coyne, to come in and sort of highlight one of the things that we're doing to help combat the overdose deaths. So good morning, Ned.
Good morning, Brian.
Now, obviously, we've been trying to deal with a variety of ways, from law enforcement and trying to, get drugs off the street, to trying to help treatment opportunities to get people that are addicted into treatment so they're not out committing crimes. But we also have this issue of overdose deaths and trying to address that. So can you highlight a little bit of what some of the things we're doing when it comes to dealing with overdose deaths?
Sure. In addition to a lot of the other things, Brian, one of the campaigns we're working with the Opiate Prevention Coalition, which is led by the Health Department, is a campaign, Don't Run, Call 911, which means that there's a Good Samaritan law that protects people calling for help to those suffering opiate overdose, that you need to call 911. Don't worry about potential ramifications to get that person help, because first responders carry naloxone, many law enforcement and EMS carry naloxone that can save someone's life if they're suffering an opioid, heroin, fentanyl type of overdose, that can save their life. If you don't call 911, time is crucial. Someone could suffer death from an overdose.
And it's really tragic because we see those cases where someone's having an overdose, and because people are afraid that they were also using, or there's paraphernalia and drugs there, they either don't want to call and they try to deal with it themselves, or they just leave. So this Good Samaritan law, it's intended to take care of that, right?
Right, and we want people to call for help. A lot of people worry about getting in trouble. Under most circumstances, you're not going to get in trouble. You need to call 911 and get that person help. That's first and foremost. That's why the legislature passed this law, to save lives.
And so when we have someone in a situation that's out there and they have someone that's experiencing that overdose, talk a little bit about who all actually gets an immunity.
Okay, anybody who's calling the person suffering the overdose, or anyone really at the scene, gets immunity from potential crimes of drug possession, paraphernalia possession, those types of things, underage alcohol possession, furnishing alcohol to a minor, those types of things where it's important that those people who are there suffering it, witnessing it, or calling would be the ones protected from this law.
So it protects everybody in the sense that it's not only just the person who's having the overdose or just the person who makes the phone call. It's reaching out for that assistance, right?
Right, because the important thing is that this person gets help, that people won't get in trouble for these types of things, that the person gets help and they don't suffer the fatal effects of an overdose.
And good point to touch on is we talked a little bit about the Good Samaritan law not being able to charge people, but we've made an effort to try to still intervene when it comes to people that have overdoses through our drug treatment education liaison. Is that right?
Yes, we have a program where our drug treatment and education liaison will stamp out heroin cards with information of providers and his information of where people can get help. And he also directs people into resources via detox, inpatient or outpatient programs, so they can deal with their addiction that way, even though they might not be brought into court with possession charges. They have the critical resources. They know where to go at that critical time when they're in most need of treatment.
Yeah, and I can tell you, just over the last month or so, I know that he's been successful in getting at least 10 people into detox. So although they've overdosed and they're not being criminally charged under the Good Samaritan law, what we are doing is still getting them into treatment, because a lot of times people will say, well, how come you're worried about these people? They're making choices to do drugs. And what I always explain is, if you take this person and you get them into treatment and they're not addicted, then they're no longer creating more victims of crime, because if they have a $200, $300 a day habit, as it's called, well, they're typically not in a job making that kind of money, right?
Right. And there are many faces of addiction. Some people are very functional and have overdoses that work, have jobs, are parents, are children of people that are productive in the community, and they have an addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really touches on anyone. So, I mean, there's certainly a really strong desire to get out there and to get people that have addiction into treatment and get them well, because it not only helps them, it helps certainly their loved ones want to keep them there, but it also helps the community as a whole. Because when you have this kind of challenge going on with drug addiction, it really does affect all aspects of the county, all types of people, all types of families. So, well, thank you so much for coming in this morning, Ned. I appreciate you highlighting this Don't Run, Call 911 campaign. So remember, if you do know someone that has an overdose, you can certainly call 911, and that will you'll be immune from arrest, charge, or prosecution. Thank you so much, Carroll County, for spending your time with me this morning. Have a great day.